Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going full throttle here again today, working on my 18 Sportsman 850. A couple weeks ago I made a video showing you guys how to do the rad relocate, which is still going great, and also threw these tires on. Since then the machine's got a few hundred kilometers on it, and so far so good. Really happy with it, no more overheating, so that is a huge success. Today I'm making a video showing you guys how to install the rear pinion tail spout for the front diff. I'm putting this Cecco Racing billet aluminum cover on it, and it's supposed to be really protective versus the factory one. The factory is known to crack and break under high load when you're in all-wheel drive, and especially with any bigger tires. You want to spend the money and take care of it before it wipes out your front diff. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that today, and start to finish, you should have this nice piece on your machine. So let's get to it. Okay, so using a suitable floor jack, I'm going to jack up the front end so we can get our wheel off here. Then we are going to access our 8mm Allen head drain bolt for our front diff and get that fluid out of there, because in this procedure you're going to lose some diff fluid. This takes special Polaris demand drive fluid, so I recommend using that. I don't know of a suitable alternative, so we're going with the factory stuff, but nonetheless we got to get this old stuff out of there before we begin. Okay guys, we're in a little bit closer here on that right front wheel well. I just wanted to show you a couple items close up here. What I've done off camera is I've actually lifted the rear wheels off the ground as well. Reason for that is, you see this wrist pin here is what needs to be removed for part of this job, so we can get the axle shaft out of the way and gain access to this cover. So without the rear wheels off the ground, you cannot rotate that and access that wrist pin. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is just punch out that wrist pin and get that out of our way. Okay, so I've set up the camera in the left front wheel well here because it's very difficult for me to work and record from the same side there. So I hope you guys can see everything well enough from this angle, but bear with me as I show you guys everything that I can from this side here. So you're gonna get your hammer and your punch, and you're gonna punch that wrist pin out of there. It might be a little bit stubborn, so don't be afraid to give it a couple good hits. Good. Now that that's out of your way, hopefully yours isn't as stubborn as mine was. You're going to slide this shaft off the splines of the pinion. This can be stubborn as well, but eventually she will come off. Might require a little pry action from down here as well. Boy, there we go. Now we're going to get access to our 4 bolts that hold the stock one on. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I like to do on dirty trucks or ATVs, I'm trying to take out bolts or Allen keys or Torx. They can be stubborn if you strip them. So what I like to do is I like to go in there with a pick first and get all the debris out. Because if you strip that, it's going to be a real fun job. So Take that out if you can, clean it up, and get your T30 Torx, and just crack those bolts loose one at a time. You should not be in there too tight at all. There's 1, 2, 3, and our last one, 4. Let's go ahead and fully pull those out now. The new billet piece comes with 4 bolts from Cecco Racing. Looks like a really good quality product, and he was nice to deal with through email. So go check out his products. Cecco Racing. Again, Polaris problems, very common. It breaks and then it wipes your diff out. So I highly recommend this piece that we're changing here. As well, I also picked up a front frame brace and a rear frame brace. The reason I got that is because I ride the machine pretty hard. I don't abuse it, you know, beyond, but I do ride pretty hard. And last thing I want to do is compromise the long-term reliability. You know, these minor costs now will save you money in the long run, and when you're dealing with good people and good products, it makes it that much easier to support. So check out Cecco Racing for your products. Okay, so now we got those 4 bolts out of the way. You're gonna pop that cover off. There should be a seal in there, so be careful. The pinion gear is going to come with it. Okay. There does seem to be some sort of gasket inside. So we're going to take this to the bench. All right, so here we are to the bench. This is the piece I just took out. This is your pinion gear. Your ring gear is still in the diff, obviously. Do a visual on it if you can. This one still looks very good. The bearing still feels good. So we're going to go ahead and obviously reuse everything here. The machine's only got maybe 600 miles on it now, so I have no hesitation to reuse that. So this is what I pulled out of it. It just slides out like so. You have your bearing and your gear. I'm going to brake clean this before I put it back into the new unit. But for now, we're going to see how this seals. It looks like just a gasket around there. So we're going to go ahead and get our pick and gently remove this gasket, because it looks like it's going to have to go on the new unit. This is all that comes out, guys. Mine's not dry or brittle. If yours is, if your machine is a high mileage unit, or if you're watching this years from now and your machine, your 2018 is now 10 years old, if we make it that far, is to replace this. But at this point in time, I do not see the need to replace it. I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick clean before we assemble it in our new unit. I'm just using some brake cleaner here. Bearing sounds really... Oh. Just cleaning this unit here. Bearing does sound good, but it is dry for the moment because I just brake cleaned everything. Clean everything up, because you're going to want to go back together safe and sound. Now, there's a little groove here that I see from the stock seal, I guess, where it rides. You could see where it's a rusted shaft versus the clean shaft. Now if you can find some emery cloth and just give that a quick scuff, this ensures that your new seal can find a good home and it's not going to leak. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that right now. Alright, so to be quite honest, I couldn't find any emery cloth. So what I did is I just went really super light on my wire wheel. Okay, very light. You're not trying to take off material. You're just trying to clean it up so your seal has a new home. Alright, it's a nice unit. I didn't touch this. I didn't touch any of this. I just went here, down. And I just gently clean that up, okay? Okay, so what we're gonna go ahead and do is install into our new unit. Now I just have some silicone based lubricant here. I'm going to very lightly just apply a very thin amount here. Spread it around just so it slides in easier and it's better for the seal going in, of course. By seal I mean this seal here, not our rubber gasket. So we can go ahead and install this. Boy, does that feel nice. Comes with a new bearing, new seal, so you don't have to do any legwork. It is a very nice, very nice unit. I have a thing for a nice clean billet, and guys, this hits the spot for the fix. So anyway, assemble with your new gasket or old gasket. Here I'm going to use my old one because it is still in very good shape. Now it is not a round gasket, or an O-ring rather. It's not a round O-ring. It's a square one. So make sure it doesn't curve itself or tangle or twist itself up. Okay, and we are ready to put this back in our machine. Before we go put this in our machine, actually took it back out so I could show you guys a size comparison. Obviously factory, obviously Cecco Racing. Look at the size difference. Look at the thickness. The difference of the thickness of the wall here. This one versus this one. Now Polaris gave it these ribs to try to support it, but that's not near enough. That is a lot better over here. So this is definitely a problem-solving piece. I'm really excited to not break my machine. All right, let's go put it back in now for real. Alrighty, so back on our machine, sliding this guy in. Make sure it doesn't go in crooked or anything like that. Should be pretty easy. Got our new hardware going in. Also provided in the kit. That's a T30 as well. That's what the bolts were that you took out of it. Was a T30. So we can start going in by hand. Okay, now we got all four in by hand. We get our T30 Torx. Begin to tighten them up. Didn't take a whole lot of torque coming off, so I do not recommend cranking these things. They're only, I believe it's 6 mil. So we're going to seat them evenly. I'm going in a crisscross pattern, just because that's kind of conventional with what I'm used to. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing, but that was the best place for me to put the camera. So if you have any Loctite, it won't hurt to put it on the threads of the bolts. But given the access that you have with them, it's not terrible to go in and check later So, now that those are all done, what I'm going to do, and this is not required but a personal preference, let's put some anti-seize on the shaft here, on both sides, if I can reach it. And the rest can go in the drive shaft here for a later time, which I'm sure I'll be in here again. So this is an important part, guys. It's important to obviously line up the bolt for the wrist pin that you had earlier. All right. Well, that was nicer. So go ahead and clean your wrist pin if you have a little wire wheel at home or at the shop, wherever you are. Go ahead and clean it. It'll make install a lot easier. Again, I'm going to put some anti-seize on this wrist pin. Then I'm going to fire it back in the hole here. You might want to spin it if you're feeling it have a hard time lining up, and check that it's actually going in the shaft. Here obviously we are, as you can clearly see. That's what it's going to look like to start. Oops. And we are going to keep going till the one side is flush. Okay. Now it looks pretty equal. And we are back in. Alright guys, so now that the back end is all buttoned up, we're going to go ahead and put our drain plug back in the bottom of the diff. And we're going to fill our diff up with demand drive gear oil from Polaris. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. Okay guys, we're back here now with the wheel on. Mine is a steel rim, so it torques to 45 foot-pounds. I just did mine to 50. That's what the minimum my half-inch torque wrench goes to, which is more than enough. If you have an aluminum wheel, I believe it's 75 foot-pounds on that. So we have our demand drive fluid, and this is very specific for the front diff. It's not just gear oil, so don't just run gear oil. This is just a random bottle I'm using to pour it in. It's my system that I use here. Now we have our fill plug. I'm not sure if you can see that from there. I'll try to move you guys over a little bit. There. I think you can see it better now. Regardless, it only takes 275 milliliters. So I've put 300 milliliters in here, which is less than a can of Coke. And we're gonna pour it into the fill hole until it pours out of it, just like a conventional, differential on a car. So let's go ahead and do that. Don't pour overly quickly because it will just begin to spill out. There is a gear just right behind that fill hole. So take your time pouring it. I believe we're good. Let me have a look here with a light. Yep, and we're at that perfect mark. It took obviously 275 milliliters, so my 300 was a little much, but that's why you need to do that. Now let's go ahead and put that plug back in. I believe the torque on this, it mentions in the owner's manual or service manual there for it to be 10 foot-pounds. So that really isn't all that much. Alright guys, that wraps up another install video. I hope you guys picked something up. We're able to tackle the job on your own with confidence now. Ready for some full throttle therapy, of course. Stay tuned. I'm going to have another video of Cecco Racing's front frame brace along with Cecco Racing's rear frame brace. Look forward to shooting that and posting it up for you guys. Please don't forget, like, subscribe, and hopefully you come back for more videos. Cheers.